So in GKE, yeah, you can use the vertical pod autoscaling to dynamically update the CPU and pod resource configurations of your deployment. So the vertical pod autoscaling continuously monitors the historical CPU and memory utilization, and it provides recommendation values for ideal CPU and memory configurations. And then you can manually update your deployment to match those configuration, or you can also allow vertical pod autoscaling to dynamically update the CPU and the memory configurations. But due to the Kubernetes limitation, currently it's only possible, like if you make changes on the resource configuration, your pod will be automatically recreated. So that will create some disruption if you're not using pod disruption budget. So if you're making changes, yeah, it's recommended to use pod disruption budget to minimize the disruption when you are updating the resource configuration. But one cool thing is there is an alpha feature currently available from 1.27 that's called in-place resizing. It allows you to dynamically update CPU and resource configuration without restarting the containers. But it's up to the application. For example, if you're making changes on the Java application, Java usually dynamically don't pick up the resource changes. It needs to be restarted, but some applications will dynamically pick up the resource changes when you're updating it. So this feature is currently in alpha. So wait for this to be available in GA before you use it in production. We also published a blog about this one, how you can use the new feature to dynamically update the pod resources. So by combining vertical pod autoscaling with the in-place pod resizing, you can able to dynamically scale your workloads without much disruption. But yeah, just wait for the new feature to be available. Until then, yes, you can use the vertical pod autoscaling and then start with like recommendation mode. So start monitoring the recommendation, make changes, monitor it, and then see whether it's useful or not. If it's useful, you can make changes on the vertical pod autoscaling to automatically update the changes depending on the resource usage of your application. So I'm going to send another link which explains how vertical pod autoscaling works in GKE and how you can enable vertical pod autoscaling to your workloads. So some key differences in using vertical pod autoscaling in GKE compared to the open source is the vertical pod autoscaler takes the maximum node size and resource quota into account before it gives the recommendations. And also before it makes changes, it actually notifies the cluster autoscaler to adjust the cluster capacity. If there's no enough capacity available in the cluster, it notifies the cluster autoscaler to adjust the cluster capacity accordingly. Also, yeah, as I said, it uses the historical data and then providing metrics collected before you enable the vertical pod autoscaler. So even before you enable the vertical pod autoscaler, if the metrics are already available, it will use that metrics also for consideration. And another thing is so enabling vertical pod autoscaler in GKE is straightforward. It's just a simple feature enablement. And also the vertical pod autoscaler runs as a pod in the control plane process. So you don't need to worry about managing it. So GKE takes care of it for you.